Governor John Bel Edwards is at the White House today, and the state's response to the COVID-19 outbreak was the topic of discussion. During the Oval Office meeting, President Trump said Louisiana's cases went like, quote, a rocket ship out of nowhere. The governor's office says Louisiana has the 5th highest per capita rate of cases of COVID-19 in the country, but Edwards says the state now has more ventilators than it needs, a sign of progress as Louisiana is battling to lower the number of cases overall. The governor says testing should increase even more in the coming days. He says test kits from the federal government should be arriving by Friday. Coming up on later editions of the Eyewitness News, Danny Monteverdi will take a closer look at the meeting at the White House today and the unique relationship between Governor Edwards, who is a Democrat, and President Trump. Taking a look at the latest coronavirus numbers from Louisiana, there are now more than 1,800 people who have died from COVID-19. That's an increase of 44 from yesterday. Just over 1,600 people are hospitalized, 244 people on ventilators. We are still waiting for the state to release the overall positive cases and the overall numbers of cases in Louisiana. Let's take a look at Wall Street there. The numbers are really good today. Stocks are higher following encouraging news about a preliminary report on the treatment of COVID-19. The numbers right now are actually very good. The Dow is up more than 620 points, so it's been a good day on Wall Street. The Commerce Department announced today the U.S. gross domestic product shrank by 4.8% in the first quarter. The GDP is the measurement of goods produced around the country, and that number has slowed down dramatically because of the coronavirus. CBS's Natalie Brand has more on why this could be just the start of what economists are saying will be some very bleak news.
The government says the U.S. economy shrank 4.8% in the first quarter, the largest decline since the 2008 Great Recession.
You know, it's yesterday's news. I don't want to belittle it because the next quarter is going to be much worse.
Just this morning, Boeing announced it's cutting back on production and laying off 10% of its workforce.
GDP growth in the second quarter is going to be, negative, big number. Wall Street estimates are negative 20, negative 30% at an annual rate. And so that's because we've done something that's really unprecedented. We've basically stopped everything.
President Trump wants states to reopen their economies as soon as it is safe to do so. He's meeting with Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards today. The president also talked with food and agriculture executives this morning to address the nation's food supply. The president signed an executive order Tuesday declaring meat processing plants as critical infrastructure, directing them to remain open.
There's plenty of supply. It's distribution, and we will probably have that today solved. It was a very unique circumstance because of liability.
Many plants have closed as hundreds of workers have contracted the coronavirus.
Before they talk about reopening, they should make sure safety is first.
Analysts have warned of possible meat shortages at the grocery store. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.